talk on medical ethics in Islam. Professor Karim is a pediatrician, professor in Muhimbili University of Health and Allied Sciences. He's a very experienced, and I'm sure you'll enjoy his presentation. Welcome, Professor.
يسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Respected medical professionals and others who are observers and sponsors, it is my great pleasure to be here to discuss about medical ethics in Islam. At the outset, I would like to mention some things. Number one is medical ethics in Islam is on the best of the creation of or from the hadith is directly related to the practice of the Prophet. And therefore we have in the Prophet the best of the examples. As said in the Quran in Surah Ahzab, ayat number 21, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِيكُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةً حَسَنَةً. And therefore, I fear that my words should not be of such that they become my own. These are hadiths and ayats from the Quran, and may Allah give me the hidayah of presenting them as they are required to. So, at the introduction, I would like to quote Zungu speaker. I mentioned about the Prophet, but I would like to quote about Stephen Bergman, who is a psychiatrist and a scholar at and a Harvard medical doctor, and the author of the book called The House of God. In June 2019, that's a few months ago, he urged the medical graduates to bring humanism and activism in clinical practice. And he says that in medical practice you have to do as much nothing as possible, because the body has an amazing healing property. The body can heal itself. And being too aggressive and invading the body mindlessly is a problem. We will come to this issue about invading the body and aggressively treating the body. And talking about the patient has the disease and I am the physician is actually separating and causing tabaka. And the need for empathy. And treating patients like objects. Oh, you know the liver in room 4. When you are doing ward rounds, oh, that patient, the liver in room 4. Oh, no, the pleural effusion in room 3. The patient becomes an entity, an object. Instead of saying Ibrahim or whoever who is not well and has a pleural effusion, you mention it only as an entity of a disease rather than a human being. And the medical system and the call of the heart. Next. He says, number one, stay connected. Lean to each other and stay human. Speak up. Empathy. Not the I, but the we. And learn your trade. Remember, the current medical practice is a disaster. Healthcare industry. And why in the world should there be a healthcare for profit? Why should there be a healthcare for profit? And here I reflect the sayings of the Prophet, that there are certain cadres of professions which should be paid from Baytul Mal, and should not be worried about earning themselves. Number one is alim, the teacher. And number two is the tabib, the one who makes life better. The actual meaning of tabib is the one who makes life better. So they should be paid from Baytul Mal, and they should not have worries about earning. Their children and family should be taken care by the state. So why should medical care be for profit? It's a big problem now, as you know, in this corporate world. Next. The challenge, the thrill and the joy to become aware of the pain and suffering of others as it is our own, and to become aware of the problems of our neighbors. If you are not aware of the problem of your neighbor, then that problem will come on your doorstep. We are here to take a spin of all those problems, to give them compassion, to give solace, and to heal. We just don't doctor, we heal. Now this is from Steve. But we say, فَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينَ. And when I am sick, he is the one who heals. So we are an intermediary between the healer and the ill. And therefore we are a privileged group of people who are an intermediary. We are the wasila, in the middle between God the healer and the sick person. And therefore the role of a medical profession is very important. Next. What are the sources of ethics and moral lessons? In Islam, the sources of ethics and moral lessons are from the Quran and from the Hadith, or from Sunnah. And it is also from Ijma, which is the legal and jurisprudence, and it is from Qiyas or Aql. This Qiyas and Aql are interchangeable words. It only differentiates between different schools of thought. They use these words, but it is of a main principle. These are the main sources of our medical ethics or morals of any kind of nature. Next slide. So examples, if you see the Quran does not have any chapter called medical ethics. It's not like a textbook saying this is a chapter of medical ethics, this is a chapter of renal disease, this is a chapter of neurology, of psychiatry or other. There is no chapter in the Quran which says this is medical ethics. The Quran is a big, beautiful, rich forest. And in the middle of the forest, there are diamonds everywhere. And you need to actually pick those diamonds in order to identify which are required. So throughout the Quran, there are pieces of gems in which you can put them together to make your diamond necklace of ethics. Therefore, Quran is not having a chapter of medical ethics, but you will find as we go through our discussions that all these medical ethics are dispersed everywhere in the Quran. So I will quote some old textbooks which derived these gems from the Quran and made into a book. Al-Razi is one of the Islamic over 1,000 years ago, who wrote a book called Akhlaq al-Tabib. Now ethics in Islam, ethics word is very difficult to translate in Arabic. So it could be akhlaq or adab, etc. All these things are mentioned in his book. This is 1,000 years ago. Medical ethics in the contemporary world has only started coming to the fore as medical science in the last few decades. From the Tuskegee, I'll talk about it, from the Tuskegee issues about withholding treatment to the patients who had syphilis in Texas just because they were poor and they were black. And therefore the Nuremberg Code and the Belmont Report and others, and the Nazi in Germany, in the Nazi tortures by the Jews tortured by the Nazis and others, then the medical ethics code came up, because many unethical things were done. But it did not come up. It has come in the West because there weren't any major issues in an Islamic civilization. Interestingly, this looking very Muslim. There was no problem in naming somebody Ishaq or Ali, even though he was a Christian. So he was a Christian, but he actually wrote this book, Adab al-Tabib and Kitab al-Hawi fil al-Tib. And in this book, he has made a treatise and used all the information from the Abrahamic religions and put into a treatise, into a book. And three things emerge from the book. There is one able creator, there is firm affection and devotion, and the messengers were sent to teach. So if you respect these three things or derive these three things from the book, you will find that Islam allows you to learn from whatever source of education, whether it is Socrates or Aristotle or Galen or Hippocrates. It allows you to learn science from any of the scientists, even if they were non-Muslims, as long as it is good for humanity. So here it is an emphasis about learning the sciences. Next. There is another source of Islamic ethics. Salah al-Din ibn Yusuf, 7 centuries ago, he was an ophthalmologist. In his book, Nur al-Uyun wa Jami al-Funun. In this book, besides mentioning about ophthalmology, he has mentioned a number of things about how you have to put in a gown of purity. The gown of purity, or the libasut taqwa. There is an ayat in the Quran, it says that you do wear any dress, but the dress of taqwa is most important. So you may be, with all due apologies, I am not pointing any fingers to anybody, you may be wearing a very nice Islamic dress. And I give you an example. I was in HIV/AIDS prevention national program, and in this national program, every religious denominations were called in Tanzania, were called to talk about HIV/AIDS. And the Christians came in and they spoke about compassion. Compassion to the sufferers of HIV/AIDS. And other denominations came. And our representative from Bakwata came and spoke. HIV/AIDS is an immoral condition. If you are having immorality, this is what you will suffer from. HIV is hell immigration visa. And I was sitting there, boiling there. Hell immigration visa. You are already becoming judgmental. Even if you did it from an immoral reason to get HIV/AIDS, how are you as a human being ready to be judgmental to put him to hell? And then the moment we finished during lunch hour, during the tea break, this representative of ours was actually holding women like that on their shoulders and said, "Wana mshikaji, mbona siku nyingi sijakuona?" I said, "Is this Islam?" He already prescribed hell to somebody, and what is he doing? And he is... So, you should put the gown of purity, the gown of taqwa. It is not a problem to put a gown of taqwa. The taqwa means lowering your gaze, being modest, having humility and humbleness. That's part of medical ethics. Next slide. So he was an ophthalmologist, so therefore he says about the lowering the gaze and from the eyes, of how when there is a dua in the Quran which says, "Oh Allah,